real quick, before we jump into the content, I want to talk to you about something new that we have going on. So below, you're going to see a link below in the comments, a link to our new private Facebook group. So we've got a GSD mode private Facebook group that's dedicated to those of you that like watching the show, that enjoy the show, that get value out of the show. It's a place for you to go to mastermind with other GSD mode fans. You can go in there, make sure that you're not missing out on any of the content. All the episodes will be in there from leveling up to interviews, so to make sure that you're not missing out on the content, but again, gives you the opportunity to mastermind with other like-minded people. You guys can sit there and mastermind on how maybe the content, interviews, different things that you're applying to your life, what's working, what's not working, and gives you that place to go out there and mastermind. So click below, check that out. Also, any promos, specials that we have going on will be posted inside that group, and we're going to be creating some private content that just will exist in that group. So make sure you click below. This is a private group, so click below. We'll make sure to get you approved right away and get you rocking and rolling inside the group. Also, want to give our sponsors a quick plug that make all of this possible. Our first sponsor is Perfect Storm, www.perfectstormnow.com. It's the real estate software that I use in my business. Helps me go out there and generate well over 1,200 free leads every single month and over 30 paid leads every single day in my real estate business. It's the most effective, affordable lead generation, front-end branding website that exists out there. So go check us out, www.perfectstormnow.com. Also, my 90-day mastery bootcamp. If you're looking for a mentorship in your real estate business, if you're looking for a coach, it's by far the most effective, affordable, hardcore coaching platform that exists out there. I give you my whole entire playbook. I walk you through it. I show you what we're doing to go out there and sell over 2 homes every single day, and what we're doing to go out there and produce at the high level that we produce. The whole entire program, you guys, is only $997. You know, right? This took me 11 years to learn this content. I've reinvested over $5.8 million back into my real estate business to learn this content. For only $997, I'm delivering it all to you. 3 hours every single week of hardcore coaching, Q&A, you get daily access to me throughout the program for a full 90 days. So go check that out, www.90daymastery.com, promo code LIVEMASTERY, all caps, all one word, all together. And if you go through that program, then you're given the opportunity, you don't have to move forward, but you get the choice to move forward to our private Mastery alumni group. So that's continued mentorship for as long as they want to continue with me. We have 2 in-person masterminds. It's the only group that I do in-person live hardcore masterminds twice a year, 20 hours at each event. It's only $50 a month, right? So if you want to take your life, your business to the next level, go check us out. All right, let's jump in today's content. Hopefully you guys enjoy this content as much as I enjoy it. What's up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD interview. Every single week we interview top entrepreneurs and top badasses that are there dominating their space. These are people that are choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but choosing to go out there and create epic lives for themselves and for their families. So today, guys, we have a special guest on the show, Brian Young. This is a dude that's created multiple epic businesses for himself. He's had to overcome a lot of adversity and is doing big things in this world. So really stoked and honored to have you on the show. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks a lot for being here, Joshua. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. So I know you're doing a lot of things today, man. I mean, you own a extremely successful painting company, but then you go out there and you teach other painters how to go out there and create and market and create their own successful companies. But before we jump into really deep on what you're doing today, dude, let's rewind the clocks, man, because I know you've got a pretty crazy, gnarly journey, man. So let's rewind the clocks. Like, how did you get started in entrepreneurship in the first place?
Right. Well, I actually started back in university. I was 18 years old at York University, and I'd never run a business before, but I'd grown up watching my dad do it. So I kind of had that kind of dream that I'd want to do like what he's doing. And so finally, Student Painters was actually, they're recruiting on campus, and I thought, man, this is like, who wants to be a painter? But I think, well, it's a business. And my friend actually, I was laughing at them first, but my friend actually was the one that actually introduced me to that. He said, Brian, you can actually make pretty good money doing this. And this was back in 1987. So I was like, really? Okay, well, and then I kind of laughed at him. And then the year after, when I actually found out about like how he was doing, because he kept in touch with me, he actually showed me he made something like it was $16,000 in 20 months, or sorry, in 1 year. And I was like, holy mackerel. And back then that was a lot of money. So I was like, sign me up. So 1988 was when it actually happened. And that's how I got started as being a house painter in university.
Yeah, I love it, man. And we've had several guests that have been through that same program in college, and it really spawned a lot of different paths for entrepreneurship for them. So all right, so what happened after that though? Did you um, kind of fill that as a void just to make some income, get through college? Then did you jump back into the corporate world, chase your degree, or did you like from that point like holy crap, and then go
Yeah.
without like take us from that journey on?
Yeah, well, basically, I had 2 years, and it was a great 2 summers of running the painting business, learning the tricks of the trade. Went through so much unbelievable pain, but I mean, it was to me, it's muscle building, is what I looked at it now. And so I went through two years of that, and then when I graduated in 1991. I wanted actually, I never thought of myself as being a painter. So I wanted to actually work in a normal job. And I don't know if you remember back in 1991, there was a major recession. So there were a lot of jobs. I graduated in an economic degree, but unfortunately there were no jobs, at least in the field that I wanted to do. So I just said, well, I know painting. So that was the only thing I knew at the time. So I thought I'm just going to keep doing what I was doing. So that's how I got started. And so it was out of basically desperation. And then from there, long story short, again, 1991 to pretty much 2000, and that's when the internet started becoming a bigger factor in my business. So things were actually going quite good, and my main focus on marketing was cold calling, lawn sign distribution, flyer distribution. So that's pretty much how I marketed my business, cold calling door to door for roughly 10 years, and that went quite good. And then the internet took over my business, and that's pretty much when I was on the brinks of disaster for roughly 15 years after that. So,
So cold calling, mailers, flyers, all still like this whole time you stayed in the painting business.
yeah,
Then the internet is really I guess introduced, right? And that
yeah,
disrupted your business for the
yeah.
last 15 years. Like walk us through that journey though. Why did it interrupt your business, man? Like
Okay.
what kind of happened there, and walk us through that path.
Well, first, cold calling was the main way to market back in the 80s and early 90s. And that I became really, really good at that. So I could basically knock on a door in less than an hour, walk out with over $1,000 with a signed contract. So I was really good at that. That worked for me, like I said, 10 years. And then the internet started coming into my business. I saw companies come in, started taking more of my market share away. And I was an old school guy, and I still am a little bit, but I just refused to want to change to that market, the way people were finding their painters. And so what happened was my sales for roughly 10 to 15 years was going down and down and down and down. I felt it each night. People weren't answering as many doors. And then when they did answer the door, they didn't want to deal with me. And then when they did want to deal with me, they'd want me to be the cheapest price. So I was looked at as the cheapest, as the lowest grade painter on the street. So that was a real kind of long, torturous, drawn-out battle that I had to kind of uphill. And I had an uphill battle to unfortunately go through, and I didn't want to go through it because I was just so good at cold calling. So yeah, and that's when. Well, I can tell you about it later. How when I finally figured it out, and yeah, and that's why I'm here today.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. So, okay, dude. 15 years though of struggling and trying to
Yeah,
figure this out. Most people might struggle for 15 months and then say, "Screw this, dude. I'm getting the hell out of here." Like, what kept you driving, bro? And we'll jump into what turned and what created the massive success that you're having today in a moment. But like, what the hell keeps you driving for 15 years? Like,
yeah.
like
Well,
what
first
was
of
that?
all,
What was going on internally, bro?
the main thing for me was the fact that I had faith in myself, and I was a very inspiration. Like I'd always look for inspiration, and whenever I'd have a bad day, which was very regularly, I would watch YouTube clips of Rocky. I bought the whole series. I would watch it over and over and over again, and I'd always look at something like role models like Rocky. Whenever I'd have a bad day, to just keep me going and realize that if this guy can do it, I can do it. So I would constantly condition that in my head and realize that, even I didn't know at the time I was marketing wrong. I didn't know what to do right either. I just persistence, my drive, unrelentless, I call it pig-headed determination. So that just got me through it, and just keep pounding the pavement. And then I would get success, like persistence beats resistance. And it did for such a long time. I would, like, as I said, market share kept going down, but I would still be able to keep my guys going, and I would still be able to pay the bills and everything. It's just that it was just going down, and I was trying to find every possible way to make this happen, marketing the wrong way, and it did like it did work to a certain degree. Like I said, we could still pay the bills and everything, make a decent living. It's just that it was going down and down and down and down. So that was part of it. So pig-headed determination and watching like YouTube clips, movies. What I use now actually is I have a lot of people who I've met through these podcasts, and they call me with their struggles, and I actually keep in touch with them because we can network and keep in touch. And I've joined some groups. I've joined the Infusionsoft Elite Forum and Strategic Coach. I do, and I keep in touch with fellow entrepreneurs on a regular basis. So whenever we're having problems, we're all pretty much going through the same stuff at different levels, but it's same kind of stuff basically.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, man. So often we'll be struggling, whether it's entrepreneurship or just life, and we always think that we're, we think we're alone. But it's like so many other people are having these struggles, and I believe in, man, that the power of numbers. If you can join, whether it's a free Facebook private group or whatever, just the power of numbers and helping each other through those struggles can be so massive. So each year, dude, I mean, things are diminishing. But you keep reaching out for help. You're trying new things, and then eventually, you figure out the game. You figure out the internet game. Fast forward 15 years later, what was that journey? I mean, what was the point where it clicked? Where all of a sudden shit starts improving, and you're like, "Holy crap! This is the path I need to go down."
Absolutely. The first thing was I did reach out to a number of people, coaches. I did actually even call my competition, but what I would do is I call them in a different city, and they would help me out because local painting business, who's going to, how am I going to bother them? Because I was pretty cheap. I didn't want to spend money on a coaching. So anyway, that helped a little bit. Like they gave me some cool little tips here and there, but the problem was my mindset wasn't right. So when they would give me these cool tips, I'd try it for a week, or I'd say, I don't think that'll work. And I would just diffuse it right away. Or when I try to work for a week or two and then it just didn't work. So my mindset wasn't right. So the first thing, actually kind of got lucky, and I got this guy. I applied online with Tony Robbins. He's a Tony Robbins guy. And he, what he did was, his name's Mike Torgerson. He actually worked on my psychology for roughly 3 months. And he just kept pounding the pavement and forcing me, saying, Brian, this will work. Try doing this, try doing this. And then what we would do is, instead of trying to do something huge like AdWords or something really expensive like that, I would just start off on little things. Like we would make a list of things that would eat up my day, because right at the time I didn't even have a website at the time. So what we did was we made an inventory of what we did, and then we found ways of taking things off my plate, because as an entrepreneur, of course, I would never want to let go, and I would want to do everything myself. So we had to start delegating this stuff away so I could start using my time more strategically.
Yep. Love it, man. So you start utilizing your time more strategically, you eliminate the waste, but at this point you're still not really invested into online marketing. Well, let me even take a step back before this question. So how did you gain the relationship with this guy? Because it sounded like maybe some online contest or something. How did you get the relationship with this dude?
I actually, what did I do? I actually went online. I started Googling how to improve your painting business, and then I came up with, I believe it was Chet Holmes is how I met him, and my name's Mike Torgerson, like I said before, and that's how we got started. And how we connected was, he's a really smooth guy, and he would just start working, because I was a huge Tony Robbins fan even before I met him, and he would start working on my psychology and start working on little rituals, mindsets. We did even imagining, where would you want to be in 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. And then he would say something like, could you imagine your business being whatever, triple what it is now? And I said, yeah, but I don't think that's possible. And he said, well, just imagine it. So we would work on mindset stuff first. And then once we got into the mindset stuff, it connected with me internally. And then I would start believing that this stuff could work. Because at first I didn't quite believe it could work. And then as soon as you started kind of going into my psychology, then I started believing it could work. And then as soon as I believed it could work, then I said, okay, let's give it a shot. Let's try this. First thing I did was I hired a university student to something as simple as getting paint matches, because I would spend 2 hours a day just getting paint colors matched. Something as simple as that. I wouldn't trust anyone to do that. So once I figured out, he says, I know no one can do it as good as you, because as entrepreneurs, we want to do everything ourselves. But if someone can do like even 80% of as good as you, would you, and you could save you 2 hours a day, would you let them do that? I said, well, I think someone could do it 80% as good as me. So we started off small. It's like a muscle. To me, it was like a muscle. So we had to build up this muscle over time rather than try to think that we could take over the world with our website. We just started off with little tasks like that. So it was like a little muscle, I would say.
Yeah. So was he then a paid coach? 'Cause
Yes,
I know earlier you said that you were too cheap to go hire a coach.
absolutely.
Okay. So it was investing your money
Yeah.
into a specialist, into a coach that could really help your business, and that was really the turning point.
Yeah, actually, even before that, I didn't even want to hire. The thing was, I was so cheap, like I said, I didn't want to spend the money. So my drop, like my rock bottom that forced me to do that was, go back a little bit, was in 2011, basically a customer, I was cold calling his house and he refused, he basically was upset for me, cold calling his house during dinner. He shoved me and punched me in the face, and we basically swore back and forth a few times. But I mean, that was like, man, I gotta just do something. It was like really, I was like ready to, check out. And that's when I just said, I'm going to spend some money, I'm going to invest some money, and do this. So that's what kind of
So
forced me.
once it ticked, man, were you like so angry and pissed with yourself that you didn't do this 14 years earlier? Because I mean, I know I've been there. It's people will get so upset of, oh, I don't want to spend this money, invest this money. I'm like, dude, how much money do you want to lose and mistakes do you want to make before you like really learn that lesson? Eventually you're going to invest the money. I don't know anybody successful that doesn't invest the money to learn from somebody that's already created that product. Like, were you like, holy shit, I wish I would have done this 14 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously now it was almost like I was in a scarcity mode. And whenever you're in scarcity mode as an entrepreneur, you're not in a very good position because you're thinking, oh, what if, what if, what if, what if? You're in your head. You're always you're reacting from fear as opposed to inspiration, because the only way that's going to make your business better is when you start thinking of inspiration. Like you look at the visionary, and you have to be the risk taker. But when you're scarcity mode, you're like thinking, what if? Oh my God, I can't afford this. Oh, and then you're dead in the water. You can't even get out of the starting gate. So you have to like change that mindset. And if you don't change that mindset, you're even if you do spend some money, and if you're going to it like in a scarcity mode, you're probably not going to succeed. Or if you do succeed, it's not going to be as far as you could have succeeded if you went from an abundance mode. For example, if you're thinking, okay, I'm spending $500 an hour, which is a fair sum, but what am I getting out of that hour? Is it actually going to increase my business? And if I didn't take that $500, invest in that hour, would I be farther behind? So now I look at it as if, okay, like I'm spending right now I'm spending $50,000 a year on informational products to try to make my business better. But if I don't spend that money, am I going to be stuck at like 1.8 million, which is what we were last year? How am I going to get to 3 million? So in other words, rather than thinking, well, if I can spend like $50,000 and if it gets me to 3 million, I make that deal every day of the year. You make that deal every day of the year.
Yep, I love that, man. Couldn't agree more, dude. So okay, so you hire this coach,
Yeah.
right? So and of course it's you taking the action. I mean, he's planting the seeds, but you're taking the action. You go from wherever you were at to, I mean, because this wasn't that long ago, dude. I mean, you're saying you had struggled for 15 years,
Yeah.
starting in 2000. So it was like the last year, 18 months that you really turned that corner, and now you did $1.8 million in sales income. I mean, that's a massive turnaround.
Yeah, actually, back in 2011, our sales was roughly 325. 2012 was when I got my website and started implementing some of these things. We doubled our sales in 1 year, which is, I believe, somewhere in the 600s. By 2014, we're at 1.3 million, and last year, 2015, we're 1.8, and this year we're on pace for 2.8 to 2.9 million.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, so it's roughly 800% growth in 5 years, roughly.
Yeah, it's insane, man. So, I mean, outside of hiring your coach and shifting mindset, let's go to strategic, tactical things in your business, right? You talked about getting a website, obviously going more in the online marketing space. What were some of the big key things that you did that have allowed you to grow that 800% inside your business?
Right. The actual tools that we used was the website was the first thing. I hired an SEO company to actually optimize my online offline. I used AdWords in the first roughly 2 years because I wasn't ranking well organically. I joined review sites such for homeowners. HomeStars is the best in Canada. I believe you guys in the States have Angie's List. So you had Service Master for a certain amount. Yelp as well is good. So we cleaned up. First of all, we documented everything we did on our website, and then we cleaned up our reputation throughout the years, because sometimes you get bad reviews and you got to be able to handle them and handle every one of those bad reviews and turn them into good reviews. So that's what we did basically in a nutshell, in terms of tactics that's bringing in revenue today.
Yep, no, I love that, man. I just had a dude on the podcast named Dorn Aldana. He's actually up in Canada as well. Start off on the mortgage consulting space, and he created this software now called Testimonial Engine. And I just signed up as a client as well, but they actually go out there and create. They go after those customers, right? They get those reviews for you, but they're like this firewall. Right, so they go to them first. If you get that negative review, it alerts you of a chance to go out there and turn that around, but then it doesn't get posted to those Yelp sites. And so there's cool companies like that out there that can help with that testimonial customership as well. So, okay, so you're getting that online space. But then, dude, how do you go from an internal staff infrastructure? Because obviously, man, you've had to hire a lot over the years, train a lot. Like, you can't go from doing $300,000 a year to $2.8 million a year alone. So what did that journey look like? What was that hiring look like? Let's talk about some of those adversities you had to overcome there as well.
Absolutely. Like I said, I was a control freak back in 2012. I would have only painters. I sucked at painting. I was below average at best at painting. And so I only had painters in myself. So making that leap and letting go of that, let's say that control, and then obviously hiring people to do the work for me. That was the biggest thing. After I found out how to market the business, that was number one. And then I had to figure out how to fulfill on the jobs that I was doing, and to the point where I could free up my time to the point where I wasn't micromanaging every little thing. So that actually, Strategic Coach has been amazing for me, and I'm still in the program today. I use that program, and I'm in the 10 times program now. So and the thing about delegating is, as a control freak, being self-oppressed control freak, it was like a muscle, like I said, I had to build up. And eventually it was, like I said, month after month, week after week, after conditioning that in my head and realizing that, okay, no one has to do everything perfect, but if they can do 80% perfect and build it brick by brick and build up that business slowly, then it could happen. And then, as I said, it's something like it's a repetition thing. For me, I'm a slow learner, so I got to constantly be reminded. Content skills, podcasts, going to the seminar every 3 months, and now I go to the Elite Forum every 3 months as well. So this stuff just builds the muscle, and before you know it, you got some guys doing things for you. And if you build up your business properly, like organizational wise, you can actually break down your business stage by stage or in section by section. So you can actually hire people for a lot cheaper than obviously it would cost me to do myself, and get them to break the jobs down individually, so you're actually doing better than what I'm doing. So, because as an entrepreneur, you're doing everything. And doing everything, you can only do so much, so good. But if you break your business down, let's say in 5% here, 5% here, and get one person doing maybe each of these 5%, they're eventually going to be able to do it better than you, because that's their sole job. So it was a muscle, like I said. Still working on certain parts of it. For example, the sales and operational manager, that's my next step, is building the business out to the point where I don't have to answer to 5 people. So if 5 people don't have to answer to me, I could just have one person to answer to, and he's managing them.
Yeah. So you're looking to essentially hire your own CEO of your company that reports to you. So I have numerous really close good friends that are in the general contracting space, and they're all uber successful entrepreneurs, doing very, very well, multi-million-dollar companies, but they seem to all have the same issue of delegation. Like you just said, trust equals capacity. You got to learn to delegate, but delegating to the right people, putting the right systems in place. So a dude like you that obviously, because I'm assuming you have a lot of independent contractors that work for you, plus employees. How do you, or what kind of systems have you put in place that have allowed you to inspect what you expect? So you don't have to micromanage them, babysit them, but also make sure that the quality of your work doesn't diminish.
Yeah, actually, there's subcontractors that we use, but in terms of the actual breaking down, like I said, I'm not a great systems guy. That's the other thing. I'm a painter. I run a painting business, but I'm not a manager of people. So what we do was like actually through my Infusionsoft, I use the CRM, and that's one of the other ways I should have explained that allow us to grow our business out exponentially. Was we broke our sales process down stage by stage by stage by stage. Okay, so for example, a new lead comes in through the website or calls us, and then we set up the appointment, or it turns into a dead lead, or it turns into a short-term nurture where we need to nurture them. They're not quite ready for a quote yet. So we broke it down stage by stage by stage. So if anyone's starting out a business, if they could break their sales process down, that's the first thing I would do, is break it down stage by stage. And then at least you got something to work with in terms of, okay, I don't trust someone to do sales yet, but I can trust someone to at least qualify a lead. So then you could hire someone, called them the lead qualifier. And then let's say if you don't quite trust someone to, let's say, produce the job, then you can say, okay, well, once the job's booked, then maybe I can have someone like set up the job, get paint colors, pick out a starting date. So if you could your business down in little bite-sized pieces, that's the first thing I would do. And then from there, you could work out jobs within like those stages, and you could delegate certain parts of that stage. Of course, you don't want to delegate it all to them. You want to break it down in small pieces. So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. And you know, I always say that it doesn't matter what industry that you're in, what business that you're in. I mean, I've helped consult doctors to attorneys to health club owners to real estate agents, you know, whatever. Everybody's got their sales funnel, just like you talked about, right? You got to know your sales funnel. Every successful entrepreneur out there knows their sales funnel intimately, inside and out, right? Mm-hmm. How do you utilize Infusionsoft and this is maybe more of a personal question. I don't know if everybody that's listening is going to get this, but I utilize Infusionsoft, and so this is probably a selfish question maybe, but how are you utilizing Infusionsoft, bro, to do that and then keep everybody else accountable inside your sales funnel?
Great question. Like I said, it's a huge, very complex beast in itself, but you don't have to think of it that way. I started as simple as like my guy Kelsey Bratcher. This was the other thing. Getting set up on Infusionsoft was a pain in the butt. I actually didn't know. I had no idea, no technology knowledge. So I got set up and it wasn't working properly for me. So I luckily ran into Kelsey, and that was by luck, by the way. And so we broke it down. Like he said, well, what happens when how do you get your sales? He says, well, first thing you do is I cold call a house, or comes in through the website, and then certain outcomes happen. They either turn it into a dead lead, or they say, oh, Brian, we're not ready for you yet, but call us back in 3 months. So what you do is you break it down slowly, and you just start breaking it down in little pieces like that. That's what we did. And that's how Infusionsoft turned into like a real lifesaver for me. I would break down into certain stages. For example, new lead, and there would be wants quote. Okay, and then from there, it can either go to dead lead or appointment set. And then from the appointment set, it can go to bid provide. So we provide a quote. And there's two ways to provide a quote. You can either do it online, like with not even see them, we call it no sales rep, or with a sales rep sees them and it turns into a weak lead or a strong lead. And then you can build out content. Like as a sales guy, that's my thing. I'm a sales guy. So I would say, well, what would you do in that stage if they're ready to buy? I would say, well, when were you looking to get it done? What colors would you want? I start asking qualifying questions. Rather, I'd always be closing, right? And so I would make content based on those questions. Being the sales guy, what would a customer do in this situation? So I would try to break down each stage by stage, and then you could even break it down even further. So rather than starting to think, oh, I have to do everything at once, just do it stage by stage. And then as you're selling jobs, you will realize, holy mac, I got like 150 people stuck in this stage and they're not doing anything. And then so you start creating content. What would I do as a sales guy if I were to go up to those people? I'd say, okay, well, first thing I'd see is where are they in the buying process? Are you ready to buy now? Or are you ready to buy in 3 months from now? Or where are you? So I would send out an email saying where are you in the process. So based on their answers, I would start segmenting them in different directions. So that's what I would do. I would start off big, just start off simple. Simple as where's this leads going, and then once you get stuck into those leads, try it for 3 to 6 months, and then you're saying I'm getting stuck here, nothing's happening here. Then I would start breaking those stages down into further. Next thing you know, you got like a second salesperson, which is Infusionsoft, basically managing all this for you, and that's a beast in itself.
Yeah, that nurture is so massive, man. Those of you that are listening to this that aren't into CRMs and campaigns, I mean, I apologize because we might be kind of geeking out on you guys here, but this is, it's funny. Like, I'll do a lead generation webinar and I'll pack the house. But if I do like a follow-up webinar, or a campaign building webinar, or a spreadsheet webinar, which is where the success is, like nobody wants it. It's like the non-sexy thing of business, right? But you look at your business, and this is true with almost all businesses, right? Eventually, dude, they're gonna need a painter. Whether, like I said, it's exterior of the house, interior, either the interior paint colors go out of style, or the weather diminishes it. I mean, eventually they're going to need a painter. The choice is it going to be you or is it going to be somebody else? And that's all businesses, right? So that long-term nurture. So many people get so damn impatient, like, oh, Brian, or like, oh, Brian, you didn't select me to do business in 3 months, and they forget about you. Well, no, maybe you didn't select me in 3 months, but maybe you need me in 7 years.
Right.
That long-term nurture, dude, is so ungodly critical.
It's amazing. And the great thing about long-term nurture is always going to be there. You're always going to come up with new ideas, new products, new this, new that. Just go online and start Googling what's the hottest trend today. And then you'll say, for example, earth tones. Then so you can send out, oh, okay, well, I've 5,000 people in this long-term nurture. Did you realize that in 2015, the top color used in Toronto was this color? And then you just, something as simple as that can do unbelievable things for your long-term nurture. And as I said, if it's really good content, if it's relevant to who they are in the buying process or what they're looking for, instead of like getting spammed and whatever, people will actually say, thank you so much. I can't believe this is amazing. So like I said, it's not something that's negative. This is, you're actually helping your clients and you're solving their problems, as long as it's relevant and you're not just spamming them with any junk.
Nah, dude, that's epic, man. I was having a conversation with this dude this morning, actually my workout partner, and he goes, oh, wow, man, I'm just so impatient. And I was kind of, giving him some tough love, but I'm like, impatience is a chump's game, right? Like, we can't be impatient if you want to be successful. We've got to learn to run marathons, not sprints. Because, like, okay, I get your article about, hey, this is the top color. Here's the trend. I like it. I see it. I'm like, holy shit. I love that. But maybe I got to wait 9 months for my tax return to afford it. Right? Like, we never know when those things come for people's lives and those events happen where they can make that decision. That's why that nurture is so important. So I love it, dude. So, all right, bro. So, okay. You've grown your business 800% in the last, 3 to 5 years. It's just exploding and continues exploding. You're doing over $1 million more this year than you did last year. And then I know recently that spawned off now and to teaching other people in your space. And I love hearing these transitions, dude. So walk us through that journey. What inspired you to go out there and start coaching and teaching and training other painters to be successful? And what does that look like?
Well, the greatest, like, this is for me, obviously, like when I was in survival mode, which is 2011, in that pretty much that 10-year thing, I went through like tons of grueling days where I just wanted to like shoot myself. Well, I'm being a little exaggerated, but I just wanted to hit a dagger in myself.
We've all had those moments, bro.
And I was so like, in tears every night, and I was just like killing myself. So I just went through so much pain, and so when I found out the solution, my life just went like through the roof. Like, financially was great, but internally, I have so much more time now to spend with my daughter. I can travel. I can do all these great things. And it's like, I don't know about you, but after you've made enough money and you don't need any more money, and luckily that's where I was, because I don't spend that much money. I mean, I live in the same house that I did 15, 20 years ago. So what else is there? What's another $100,000 going to do for me? And to me, it wasn't a heck of a lot. So I just kind of went into like vision mode. Like, well, I want to help as many people as I can help. And I want to like influence and even my painters, like I was saying, this is my goal, is to have over 1,000 happy customers in 1 calendar year. And I want to grow my business to the point where I can do that. Because in terms of money, I'm not making, at this point, I wasn't making any more money because I was hiring all these people. But what was making me so happy was the internal gratification and the fact that I could give back and help other people.
Yeah. Well, and then too, though, I mean, you're not making more money because you're hiring those people, but then as they become repeat customers, they're not costing you more money to acquire. right?
Well,
So
my piece, sorry, my lifestyle. I wasn't making more money, but my lifestyle has been going up.
yeah,
Right?
yo, for sure. Yeah.
Like in terms of what I want to be doing. That's the other thing was I hate doing so many parts of my business. Like roughly, I would say 75% of my business I hate. Production, I'm okay at. I don't love it though. I hate administrative. I hate qualifying new leads like tire kickers. I'm terrible at accounting. I hate anything to do with legal. So I hate all those things. But you have to do it in a business. So I've delegated all these things that I hate, and now I'm just doing the things that I love, which is stuff like this, growing the business and sales. I still do sales like 2-3 times a week because I love doing it. I love closing deals. I'm a closer. I just love it.
Yeah.
Helping people. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. So talk about then. Okay, so now you're out there consulting, though. I mean, if I'm correct, now you have a platform where you go out there and help other painters increase their business, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I mean, I know that you said, okay, hey, I'm, got to a point where I wanted to give back and contribute more. What does that look like, man? How do you transition to that? Because that's a whole different space. Being able to grow a great business is one thing, but now how do you attract other entrepreneurs? Because you were the guy for years and years and years that was too cheap
Yeah.
to go out there and invest in this. And now you're trying to get people in that same position to invest
Absolutely.
with you. So what was it like growing that business?
It's really I'm still doing it actually. It's really a journey, and but the thing is I actually when I connect with people and I figure out where they were, like I'm saying, I was there in about 2011. I pretty much remember the times of the day, and then I can almost like pick apart their psychology. I'll say you probably don't trust anyone, right? And you probably only have 2 or 3 painters, or I can like pick apart their business and it's going yes, 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 yes. So I just find it unbelievably inspiring to be able to help those people. And through Infusionsoft, like I did the Infusionsoft Marketer of the Year award back in actually last year, and since then the business has been going great. And people have been reaching out to me online, and so if you were to Google Home Painters Toronto, you see a lot of that stuff on like some other podcast interviews and stuff that I've done, as well as the YouTube clip where they actually did the event at Infusionsoft. I don't know if you've been to the Icon. I don't know if you've ever been.
It's weird, man. I haven't been to Icon, but I
Okay.
live in Phoenix, so I'm not too far away from Infusionsoft. I've been there. I've actually spoken. I've been a guest speaker to
Oh,
speak to their staff but Icon University. I've got to reschedule some things, but it always conflicts with a conference that I hold for one of my coaching companies. But I want to go, dude. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Infusionsoft, huge fan of
awesome.
Infusionsoft. So love the software, dude. So, what does so you're a dude now that's running multiple businesses. One of your businesses is on track to do roughly 3 million this year. Coaching business that's exploding. Dude, what is a day like? What's your typical day look like?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm a night person. I love working at night, so I'll it's crazy. I'll start working at around say 4 to 6 p.m. And that's when if there's ever sales, like that's when I'll do them. And then what I usually do is I just actually go play hockey or something fun. And then what I'll do in the evening is when I start doing my real work is usually between 11 p.m. and 6 in the morning. That's when I love working. And the reason why is because no one's going to bother me. No one's going to email or text me. I just love doing that. And then usually what I'll do is I'll do things to build the business, come up with new content. Right now we have over 50 people in my business. So instead of doing it myself, except for the sales, I'm pretty much working through my people. So we have to come up with new team building ideas, meetings ideas. So I'm really, really doing, except for my salespeople, I rarely speak to one person. I'm usually speaking to groups of people in teams or in meetings. So that's pretty much the consumption of my day. And the night stuff is I love doing because I just love researching and learning. One of my unique abilities is I love like researching, coming up with new ideas, and finding new innovative ways to expand the business and grow it. For example, right now I'm trying to build my business up so I don't even need to be there at all. And the reason why, because we're looking to expand to Ottawa right now. That's going to be our first challenge, is expanding location from, I've basically figured out Home Painters Toronto. Now I want to create Home Painters Ottawa. And then if we can do Home Painters Ottawa, then I'm going to do Home Painters Vancouver, and then Home Painters Calgary, and then Home Painters Edmonton. And then once I've got Canada quartered, I'm coming down to the States because you guys, I just love your weather.
Hell yeah, I love it, man. I love it, dude. So yeah, and those off hours, people. I'm kind of the opposite of you. I mean, I like to go to bed at like 9 o'clock at night, probably when you're just getting started. But I like to wake up at 2 a.m. But
Okay.
it's at 2 a.m. to like 8 a.m. before the rest of the world is even getting going, where I get so much accomplished because this thing isn't going off. Right? Like, so no, I love that, dude. So, okay, so now that the business is expanding, because a lot of people don't understand. We talked about some of your slow pains. Let's talk about some of those growth pains that you didn't expect to have. Because everybody's like, oh, I just wished I was growing, wish I was growing. Sometimes you start growing so fast, you're like, holy shit, I wish I was slow. Right?
Yeah.
What were some of those growth pains, or the top couple that you had to overcome that you didn't really ever expect to have to overcome?
Well, when you're growing a business, what happens is, especially when an entrepreneur, the number one thing with entrepreneurship, it's basically a job in letting go. An exercise in letting go. So what you thought no one could do, you don't have to think, okay, well, no one can do this, but can they do that? So the biggest thing I would say for new entrepreneurs, especially when they're in the expanding mode, if they've gotten sales, they have enough to survive, but they want to expand it, is they got to start letting go. And it's like I said, delegation is a muscle. And the number one thing that I would do is start figuring out what I'm doing all day long, make an inventory of what you're doing. And then from there, if once you figure out what you're doing, what you're doing in terms of how many things, you got to figure out what you love doing and what things you don't like doing. And then you would probably take, obviously, the parts that you're doing, keep them in one category, say, okay, I'd love to be doing that like 75% of the day. And then the parts that you're not doing, let's say, whatever, for most entrepreneurs, I assume it would be paperwork, accounting. Usually they aren't a good accountant. So get that stuff off your plate, because what it's doing is sucking your energy. First of all, you're probably not very good at it too. And you want to get someone else in their unique ability doing that for you. So I would start off by, like I said, make an inventory of what you're doing and start keeping the things that you do want to do and build your business up so you can only have to do those really fun things, and then get rid of all the other stuff. That's if you have sales. If you don't have sales, obviously comes down to like marketing, sales. You have to go out there and sell. And that's probably some of the toughest things to do if you're not a salesperson, but it has to be done. Sales, 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 sales. Because without the sales, you can't do anything else. So I would just work on the sales, and sometimes it might have to be as far as like just going into like, okay, why do I not like selling? Usually it's, I don't like getting on the phone. I don't like meeting people face to face. Then you have to get someone else to do that for you. Okay, and in terms of at least doing that part of it, hopefully you're good at least nurturing them to the point where you can make some sales. And then so those are the two things I would tell people, is just working on those muscles. And the other thing is it doesn't have to be huge. Like I said, you try not, the key to entrepreneurship is trying not to look at guys that are making billions of dollars and saying, how am I going to get there? Just breaking it down one by one by one. Because if you can make one sale, you can make two, and then you can make three. It's just duplication upon duplication upon duplication, rather than think of it, oh, I got to make $500,000 sales this year. I'm not going to make my goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we talk about it with the comparison. Comparison screws so many people up, man. It's just like dude, quit comparing yourself to everybody else. Just focus on getting better, a little bit better, what you're doing and on your process. And man, I really love that. So, what percentage of your day would you say is spent on like actual hardcore work, like you working in your business, and what percentage is spent on self-development of going out there, learning those new ideas and educating yourself?
Well, doing my unique ability, which is a combination of sales and learning the business, I would say 75%. I've gotten it down to 75%. Of course, it was not like that 5 years ago. It was in probably the 25% range. So I've kind of been able to break the business, like I said, the tasks. For example, production, I'm okay at it and I'm good at it, but I don't really love doing it. Last thing I like to deal with is customers that are, complaining about a color or when are your painters going to show up. So you got it. Like I said, what I did was I took that part of my business and started delegating pieces of that out slowly by slowly by slowly. Then, of course, I got someone, I called him my field manager, production scheduler. He's my main guy. So I would say 75% right now I've gotten off my plate. 25% I'm doing the sales, building the business, doing podcasts like this, going online, researching different ways to grow in the business. Ottawa, for example, that's going to be big next year. I'm growing the business and expanding Ottawa. So yeah, I would say 75-25.
Yep, love it, man. So you talked about your unique ability, right? So we hear a lot of talk about this. So focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses. Identify what your unique ability is. A lot of people are like, dude, I have no idea what the hell my unique ability is. I have no idea like what I'm good at or whatever. And then some people just sit there and think, oh, well, is it doing what I enjoy? Which sometimes it's not that. Like, how do you know, or how did you identify what your personal unique ability is, and what would you recommend to our listeners?
Well, the thing about unique ability is you're probably good at a lot of things, but you probably only like doing a certain amount of things. And so it has to be something you love doing, something that comes natural, and something that you're good at. So that's the unique ability. Then there's things that you're good at, but you don't necessarily like doing. Maybe it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm good at organizing crews or iPad, like dealing with stuff on my emails and stuff like that. And there's stuff that you do because you have to do it, but you don't necessarily like doing it. And then there's stuff you absolutely hate. And the stuff that every time you look at it, it's sitting there and it's just like, it's like a dagger in the gut. You just like, oh, this is killing me. And for me, it's like taxes. I just hate dealing with my taxes. It's pain in every time I look at it. So what I do is whenever I grab a bunch of this is all receipts. I just hand them off to my payroll person. It's empty again. So anyway, so that, I would say start with, like I said, stuff you love doing, stuff you're good at doing, stuff you're like innovates you, makes you want to wake up at night and work extra. That's your unique ability. And then there's stuff that you're good at, but you don't necessarily like love doing, which sometimes it can be sales, answering emails, stuff like that. And then you break your business down like that. And look at it this way. You don't have to start off huge, but you want to start chipping away at this slowly, one by one by one by one. So what I did was I got the stuff that really was hurting me, which was like the payroll. So what I did was I didn't even actually hire someone. I got my ex-wife to do it for me because at least I could trust her. So I didn't even pay her to do it. And so I said, Helen, can you get this off my plate? I just can't stand it. So and I started slowly. Like I said, I just didn't throw it all at once. I kind of said, well, this is what I normally do, and this is what I want you, if you can help us out. So eventually more and more and more, and now I pay her to do it. But at first I didn't even pay her to do it. So you got to get the things that are killing you first, in my view. Figure out first identify, of course, what you love doing, and then I would say chip away at those things that are killing you. And it can be as simple as going to grocery shopping. I hate grocery shopping. It's just a pain in the butt. I hate having to wait in line and everything. So I got my nanny to do it, and I also got my assistant to do it at work. So actually, when I hired people, I said, "Do you mind? I'm not expecting you to do my laundry and everything, but can you at least go do some grocery shopping with me once a week? And then, of course, I'll pay you for it." So I got these things, and when you actually figure out what you're good at, the chances are you're amazing at it. And what that thing does is it actually can grow your business so much faster than that thing that's killing you. So for me, it was sales, and every sale to me is $4,000 to $5,000. So if you do the math, if I could spend, let's say, maybe 4 more hours doing sales a week, and I can take that stuff that's killing me, and which takes a lot longer and a lot more pain, and get that off my plate. When you do the math, okay, if I do like even 2 more sales a week, that's like $8,000, $10,000, $8,000 to $10,000. With that money, I could easily hire anyone in the city to do my grocery shopping or take care of my daughter when she's crying or something like that. Or it's things that was killing me, or the payroll, $20 an hour. I could pay someone to do my paperwork. So that's the key to unique ability, is you got to figure out what it is, zone in on it, and then try to chip away at the things that are actually taken away from your day.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. That's badass, dude. Awesome advice, bro. Yeah, I get a kick out of it. People are like, oh man, I gotta take Sundays off because I gotta do yard work and clean up the house. I'm like, okay, it costs you what, $150 to hire a maid and a landscaper that day to do that, when you can go out there and make $6-7 grand. But a lot of we're just not trained to think that way, right? So no, so I love it, man. So I started this podcast, dude, to I got so sick and tired of hearing of these quote-unquote gurus out there, because I'm sure like you, or maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but I know I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on trainers and coaches and piss that money away. Realizing they said they were a guru, they weren't a guru, it was all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
And all these spaces that exist, every space that exists out there, there's so much that. So I'm like, man, I'm going to start this podcast to go out there and interview just straight up badasses like yourself that are the doers, that are in the trenches, that have overcome massive adversity, that have went out there and created epic businesses and lives for themselves to bring your knowledge and what you've done and how you've built your business to our listeners out there, because they want to list. They're listening right now to go out there and create their own epic life for themselves. So with that being said, man, any last pieces of words, advice, inspiration, motivation that you'd like to leave them with, so they can go out there and create the life they know they want and deserve, dude? They're where you were, 5 years ago. They just can't get that traction, right? Any last pieces of words and advice you'd like to leave them with?
I would say if you look at your business or your journey as a process, so don't look at it like I want to make $1 million and buy a Mercedes-Benz, whatever it is. Because if you get stuck in that mode, you're going to be in trouble. And the reason why is because to get to that mode, chances are you're not going to get there in a smooth way. It's going to be like, I'm going to have to overcome this. I'm going to have to overcome this. I'm going to have to overcome this. So if you look at it rather as the journey, like how can I overcome this? So it's like a mental game, complete mental game. It's 99% up here. 1% was the website. So like, yeah, the website is what got me all this money and everything. But if I didn't work on my mindset, I wouldn't have even have gotten as far to hire someone to make a website for me. So if you look at your business as like, I'm going to look at this is a challenge and as in a process rather than an end goal, then there's going to be a lot better chance of you getting to that end goal. If you look at it like, okay, so now I figured out how to do my payroll. Now I can figure out how to overcome this. Now I'm going to figure out how to overcome customer complaints. And then looking at it like that as the journey, as a process, rather than like, well, it's something glorious. Because the chances are, it could be glorious at the end of the day, but to me, entrepreneurship was never glorious. It was just this constant pain, and it was like overcoming those things. And then when you overcome it, that's what got it. Not necessarily the money. The money was the result, obviously, the end result. But the fact that I overcame that challenge was the ultimate feat in terms of making me happy.
Yeah, I love it, man. Powerful words, and you're so right, dude. You have this massive goal. You set the goal and you hit it. You're like, okay, that's cool. Now what's next? It is going through that journey that. Man, most people don't get it, but that's the greatest rush I've ever felt personally.
It is.
There's nothing better, man. So love it.
Watch Rocky. Like Rocky is like 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Like when you look at his life, it's like wow, like this guy.
Well, and then study his life on what he did to get Rocky made. Yeah. Sold his dog, dude, and how broke he was, and people look at what he is, but I'm like, dude, look where he came from, man.
And with social media, the thing is, all you see is the good things. It's like, whoa. But when you actually study their life, they went through torture to get to where they are. But that's the beauty of it. When you're in a room full of other entrepreneurs and they've been through just as many tortures, sometimes more, sometimes less. But it's just fun. I just find that's why I love the forum the Elite Forum and Strategic Coach. To me, this is like a mind building. Like it's almost like let's like hold hands and just like share each other's how the last quarter went.
Yep, that's killer, bro. I love it, man. And to our podcast listeners, I know we say this as we end every single podcast, but information, you guys, without implementation is only the start of delusion. Information isn't power. It's taking that information, executing on it, implementing it into your world that creates power inside your life. So Brian shared so much amazing information, so many golden nuggets with you guys. Take something he shared or multiple things he shared, go out there, take action on it, implement at it, so you can go out there and create the life you want and deserve. And Brian, dude, I know how busy you are. I know where you are. It's super late. So I appreciate you, man, taking time out of your busy day to be here. This has been a hell of an interview, man. I really enjoyed our time together. I really appreciate it, dude.
All right. Thanks a lot, Josh. It was a pleasure being here.
Absolutely. All right, you guys, we will see you next time.